September 19, 1944, at 06:15, a thick morning fog enveloped the vicinity of Aricourt in eastern France, as Panther tank units of the 113th Panzer Brigade confidently advanced toward their objectives. According to the brigade's report to the 5th Panzer Army headquarters at approximately 06:20, the vanguard unexpectedly encountered previously unknown types of enemy tank destroyers. These enemy vehicles, it was noted, possessed astonishing maneuverability, rapidly closing in on German tanks from distances of 400 to 800 meters, then instantly changing their positions. As a result of this sudden attack, German forces lost 3 Panthers in just 5 minutes. Through the veil of fog, German tank crews heard a sound they had never encountered before. It was a piercing, high-frequency engine whine, reminiscent of an approaching aircraft. Suddenly, squat silhouettes emerged from the fog, fired lightning-fast shots, and vanished just as quickly before German gunners could even aim their weapons. The entire attack cycle, from start to finish, took no more than 20 seconds. That morning, on the battlefield, the 39 German tanks of the 113th Panzer Brigade, under the command of Colonel Erich von Sensdorf, were about to learn a bitter truth. American engineers had developed a tank destroyer capable of reaching speeds up to 88.5 km/h, 55 mph, surpassing any tracked armored vehicle then in existence. While German military doctrine dictated that tank destroyers should be slow, heavily armored fortresses similar to their own Jagd Panthers, the M18 Hellcat was designed on a completely different philosophy: speed as the best defense, mobility as the key to survival, and maneuverability as a deadly weapon. The mathematical calculations for tank duels required a radical overhaul. The Panther's turret traverse mechanisms were notably slow, taking anywhere from 18 to 60 seconds for a full rotation, directly dependent on engine speed. In contrast, the Hellcat's hydraulic turret system demonstrated impressive agility, completing a full 360-degree rotation in just 24 seconds, regardless of engine RPM. Moving at 8.0 km/h or for 5 km/h, an M18 could cover a distance of 400 meters before Tiger Tank's turret could even turn 90 degrees. The transformation began in December 1941, when Lieutenant Colonel Andrew Davis Bruce presented his ideas at a secret briefing at the War Department. The stunning success of German blitzkrieg tactics had overturned established military concepts. Poland fell in just 35 days. France, which possessed the world's largest army, capitulated in 6 weeks. The Wehrmacht's panzer divisions convincingly demonstrated that mobility and concentration of forces could overcome any static defense. Bruce, a cavalry officer with a deep understanding of the value of speed and maneuver, proposed a revolutionary approach. Instead of engaging German tanks in direct confrontation, competing in armor and firepower, America should create a machine capable of hunting tanks much like cavalry pursued infantry in the past, using speed, surprise, and superior maneuverability. Tank destroyer forces were to operate under a simple but effective motto: find, attack, destroy. In December 1941, the American War Department issued a request for the development of a high-speed tank destroyer, initiating a period of intensive design research. Throughout 1942, the technical requirements for the new vehicle underwent significant changes. Initially, a 37mm gun was proposed, which was later replaced by a 57mm, then a 75mm, and finally a 76mm gun. The possibility of using a Christie suspension was considered, but torsion bar suspension was ultimately preferred. By April 1943, the T-70 prototype developed by Buick demonstrated impressive speed characteristics that seemed incredible for a tracked vehicle. Meanwhile, German intelligence, receiving information about the development of American tank destroyers, dismissed the project with contempt, considering it a display of typical American naivete. The Wehrmacht's military doctrine, reinforced by 4 years of combat experience, held that effective tank destroyers should possess powerful armor and large caliber guns, like their 46-ton 88mm Jagdpanthers. The very idea of Americans creating a 17.7-ton vehicle with armor only 25mm thick seemed militarily absurd. However, on May 23, 1944, during the Anzio breakthrough, the Hermann Göring Panzer Division encountered the M18 in combat for the first time. The division's daily combat report to the 14th Panzer Corps noted the enemy is using a new type of tank destroyer. Vehicle speed is estimated at 70 to 80 km/h. 2 Panzer High 4s were destroyed before the enemy vehicle retreated. Return fire is ineffective due to the high speed of the targets. German tank crews reported vehicles that did not match anything in their identifications manuals. Low silhouettes moving rapidly across the battlefield at a speed usually associated with wheeled reconnaissance vehicles, not tracked vehicles armed with 76mm guns. The first alarming signals about the appearance of new German tanks, nicknamed Panther, at the front were met with disbelief in Berlin. High-ranking German commanders were inclined to believe that experienced tank crews under intense combat conditions were simply overestimating the capabilities of enemy equipment. However, September 1944 brought harsh truth. The powerful offensive of the US Third Army in Lorraine severely depleted German defenses. In response, Hitler personally ordered a counterattack to retake Nancy and break the offensive momentum of General Patton's troops. To achieve this, the 5th Panzer Army, led by General Hasso von Manteuffel, assembled its best forces, including the newly formed 111th and 113th Panzer Brigades, equipped with the latest Panthers, fresh from the factory. The 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion, attached to Combat Command A of the 4th Armored Division, took up defensive positions around Aracourt, armed with its M18s. At dawn on September 19th, under the cover of thick fog, German forces launched their offensive. An M18 platoon commanded by Lieutenant Edwin Leiper delivered a devastating blow to the enemy. According to the 704th Battalion's combat report, Leiper's platoon engaged German armor at ranges of 365 to 730 meters, skillfully employing shoot and scoot tactics. As a result of these daring actions, the platoon destroyed 15 enemy tanks in just half an hour. Sergeant Henry R. Hartmann's M18, positioned on the platoon's flank, particularly distinguished itself. His gunner managed to disable 6 Panthers, one after another, changing position each time before the German tanks could open return fire. For his valor and heroism, Sergeant Hartmann was awarded the Distinguished Service Cross. The baptism of fire for the 113th Panzer Brigade resulted in a crushing defeat. German divisional reports recorded, in the Aracourt area, the brigade engaged enemy tank destroyers that demonstrated unprecedented maneuverability. The estimated speed of enemy vehicles exceeded 80 kilometers per hour. The outcome of the battle was 39 tanks destroyed, 11 damaged. Enemy losses were insignificant, 3 to 4 vehicles. In November 1944, after an intact M18 was captured near Metz, German armament specialists conducted a comprehensive study of it. The technical report, addressed to the Inspector General of Panzer Troops, contained data that disproved the established notions about tank destroyer design. The confirmed characteristics of the vehicle were as follows: weight 17.7 metric tons, significantly less than the Panther's 44.8 tons. Top speed 88.5 km/h, recorded on the test range. For comparison, the Panther's maximum speed was 46 km/h. Engine R975C4, Wright radial engine with 400 HP, installed on late production models. Power to weight ratio 22.6 HP per ton, compared to 15.6 HP per ton for the Panther and 12.8 HP per ton for the Tiger. Turret traverse, full 360 rotation in 24 seconds thanks to its hydraulic drive. Armor, maximum thickness of 25 mm on the turret front, 13 mm on the hull sides. Main armament, 76 mm M1A1 or M1A2 gun. Transmission, torque-matic automatic with 3 forward gears. The German report on the American M18 Hellcat self-propelled gun noted that the vehicle's outstanding characteristics were the result of a radical design approach. The developers sacrificed armor protection in favor of achieving maximum mobility. An aircraft-derived, air-cooled radial engine was used as the power plant. The automatic transmission allowed the driver to fully concentrate on maneuvering, eliminating the need to operate a clutch. The conclusion emphasized that the M18's combat effectiveness was directly dependent on its high mobility and the crew's level of training. The M18's advantages, supported by mathematical calculations, were evident. The turret traverse speed of German tanks, which depended on engine RPM, varied significantly. For example, the Tiger I tank's traverse speed ranged from 6 to 19 degrees per second, corresponding to a full turret rotation in 60 to 19 seconds. Early Panther modifications had a turret traverse speed of only 6 degrees per second, full rotation in 60 seconds, while later models achieved 19 degrees per second at 2000 RPM, a minimum of 19 seconds for a full rotation. The Tiger II's turret traverse speed varied from 15 to 24 degrees per second, full rotation taking 24 to 15 seconds. The M18's hydraulic drive provided a stable turret traverse speed of 15 degrees per second, regardless of engine speed, which was a critically important factor when engaging multiple targets or tracking fast-moving enemies. Thanks to its maximum speed of 8 to 8.5 km/h, the M18 could cover 400 meters in just 16 seconds, 800 meters in 33 seconds, and cross a dangerous 1,000-meter kill zone in 41 seconds. In comparison, a Panther tank required 30 to 60 seconds just to traverse its turret 180 degrees when tracking a moving target, depending on its speed. The introduction of the M18 marked a revolution in American anti-tank strategy. The updated combat manual of the 704th Tanker Destroyer Battalion, revised after the battles near Aricourt, emphasized that the M18's use relied on maneuverability rather than direct confrontation in a firefight. The recommended combat procedure was as follows: fire 3 to 5 shots from a concealed position, then immediately relocate at least 200 yards. Then engage from a new position at a different angle. The cardinal rule was never to remain in one spot for more than 60 seconds if the enemy was observing. This tactic, dubbed shoot and scoot, proved devastatingly effective. German tank crews, accustomed to systematic and methodical long-range engagements, were unprepared for an enemy that avoided open confrontations. December 19, 1944. The German Ardennes offensive, Hitler's last desperate gamble, was in its third day. The 2nd Panzer Division, leading the advance on Antwerp, was approaching a strategically vital crossroads in Neuville, held by Task Force de Sobry, along with elements of the 101st Airborne Division. 4 M18s from the 609th and 705th Tank Destroyer Battalions faced vastly superior enemy forces. The morning fog, which had previously aided the Germans in their stealthy advance, now became an ally of the Hellcats. Combat reports from the 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion recorded an episode demonstrating the outstanding effectiveness of American equipment and tactical skill. 4 M18 Hellcat self-propelled guns, utilizing the thick fog, engaged the leading elements of the enemy's 2nd Panzer Division. Thanks to lightning-fast movements between firing positions, the Hellcat crews managed to create the illusion of significant forces. The result of this daring maneuver was the confirmed destruction of 24 enemy tanks. Unfortunately, American forces also suffered a loss, with one vehicle falling victim to artillery fire. The tactics employed by the M18 crews were simple and effective. After firing 2 to 3 accurate shots, the Hellcats would instantly break cover and, achieving maximum speed, disappear into the foggy haze. By the time German tank crews located themselves and attempted to aim their guns at the recent muzzle flash, the American self-propelled guns were already 200-300 yards away, opening fire from an entirely different position. Documents from the Wehrmacht's 2nd Panzer Division preserve a record reflecting the confusion and frustration of the German command. In the Neuville area, we encountered fierce resistance from tank destroyers, highly mobile enemy vehicles, operating in poor visibility, constantly change positions, making effective target engagement impossible. The attack has been temporarily halted until reinforcements arrive. This forced delay, which lasted 48 hours, played a decisive role in the Allied success, allowing the 101st Airborne Division to consolidate its position in Bastogne and defend the strategically important crossroads. By November 1944, the German command faced an urgent need to develop effective tactics against the American M18 tank destroyers, which posed a serious threat on the battlefield. General Hasso von Manteuffel, commander of the 5th Panzer Army, issued a directive highlighting the M18's outstanding characteristics, its ability to reach speeds over 80 km/h on roads and more than 40 km/h cross-country. The directive proposed changing standard combat procedures, abandoning the practice of tracking M18s by turret traverse in favor of pre-aiming guns at probable routes of movement. It also recommended using infantry with Panzerfausts for flank protection, employing artillery to suppress suspected positions and avoiding pursuit, as M18s always outpaced German vehicles. However, despite these adaptations, the effectiveness of German countermeasures remained low. The M18's speed advantage was so significant that German crews couldn't quickly adapt and abandon their accustomed, methodical and precise firing. M18 production was carried out by Buick from July 1943 to October 1944, with a total of 2,507 units manufactured. The highest production volume occurred in November 1943, when 207 vehicles were assembled. The initial contract called for 8,186 units, but it was reduced as the end of the war approached and military doctrine changed. The cost of each M18 in 1943 was 55,230, which was relatively expensive due to the use of a specialized engine and transmission. Nevertheless, mass production was established thanks to American automotive industry methods. In comparison, A German Panther tank cost approximately 117th of 100 Reichsmarks and required significantly more production time due to the complex design of its final drive and transmission. The M18 was initially designed with large-scale production in mind. The choice of the R975 Wright radial engine was dictated by its existing high-volume production for aviation and other equipment. The implementation of an automatic transmission significantly simplified the driver training process. The open-top turret design also contributed to faster and cheaper manufacturing. Standard automotive components were widely used in the vehicle's development, which further positively impacted its cost and availability. At the Tank Destroyer Training Center, located in Camp Hood, Texas, specialized crew training programs were developed for the M18. These programs emphasize skills distinct from those required for operating conventional tanks. Driver training focused on high-speed maneuvering, rapid acceleration and braking, and skillful use of terrain. Drivers were taught to maintain the highest possible speed while ensuring a stable firing platform during brief stops. In turn, gunner training was directed at rapid target acquisition and firing on the move. Unlike German gunners who were trained for methodical and precise long-range shots, M18 gunners learned to quickly open fire at medium ranges, consciously sacrificing first shot probability for rapid engagement. Commander training emphasized developing situational awareness, rapid decision-making and skillful coordination with other M18s. Commanders were taught to think several steps ahead, always planning the next two firing positions before even engaging. The psychological profile of M18 crews differed notably from that of heavy tank crews. Selectors sought individuals who were comfortable with risk, possessed the ability to make instant decisions, and preferred maneuverability over the psychological comfort provided by thick armor. The M18's main Achilles heel was its armor, so thin it was nicknamed paper thin. With a maximum thickness of 25 mm on the turret front and a meager 13 mm on the hull sides, the vehicle became easy prey for almost any German anti-tank weapon. Even 20 mm anti-aircraft guns at close range, let alone 37 mm anti-tank guns, infantry anti-tank weapons, artillery shell fragments, and heavy machine guns, posed a serious threat to the M18. This fatal vulnerability dictated every aspect of the vehicle's tactical deployment. An unwritten rule for M18 crews became never stay in one place under enemy fire, avoid urban combat where maneuverability lost its advantage, keep at least 500 meters from enemy infantry, constantly use terrain for concealment, and coordinate actions with infantry to suppress enemy anti-tank assets. M18 crews developed almost a sixth sense, constantly scanning their surroundings for threats and escape routes. By the end of World War II, M18 equipped tank destroyer battalions boasted the following confirmed successes. Confirmed kills by battalion, 704th. Tank Destroyer Battalion, 106 enemy tanks. 603rd Tank Destroyer Battalion, 92 enemy tanks. 69th Tank Destroyer Battalion, 67 enemy tanks. 705th Tank Destroyer Battalion, 89 enemy tanks. 85th Tank Destroyer Battalion, 51 enemy tanks. Overall statistics, total M18s in combat, 540 units, peak in March 1945. Combat losses, 216 vehicles. Kill-to-loss ratio, an impressive 2.3,1 in the European Theatre of Operations. Average engagement range, 650 meters. Average engagement duration, only 2.3 minutes. Despite a respectable kill-to-loss ratio of 2.3,1, pre-war predictions for the M18 were not fully realized. A significant factor was that M18s spent approximately 70% of their combat time providing infantry support, rather than engaging in dedicated enemy tank hunting. The core doctrine of tank destroyers, which envisioned massed attacks against enemy armor, proved largely erroneous in practice. The Italian campaign presented new challenges. The 85th Tank Destroyer Battalion, operating M18s in mountainous terrain, discovered that even in confined spaces, the Hellcat's mobility offered distinct advantages. These vehicles could be rapidly redeployed between threatened sectors, utilizing mountain roads where heavier equipment struggled to move. During battles along the Gothic Line, M18s quickly occupied dominant high ground, engaged German forces in the valleys, and then repositioned before the enemy could return fire. German troops in Italy, accustomed to the typically slow movements of Allied forces in difficult terrain, were repeatedly surprised by the M18's rapid response. A German Corps report noted that enemy tank destroyers demonstrated the ability to quickly concentrate in threatened areas, and their high redeployment speed made effective counter-battery fire difficult. In the Pacific Theater, particularly during the Philippine campaign, the 637th Tank Destroyer Battalion deployed the M18 Hellcat. Given the limited use of Japanese armor, these vehicles were primarily employed for destroying fortified bunkers and providing support to infantry units. However, the open-top turret design made them vulnerable to Japanese infantry tactics, forcing crews to improvise by installing makeshift overhead covers and wire mesh to protect against grenades and explosive devices. While the M18's high speed allowed for rapid responses to Japanese infiltration attempts, the dense jungle often negated its mobility advantages. The M18 featured several innovative solutions. Its dogmatic transmission, developed by General Motors, was an automatic system that eliminated the need for manual clutch operation. 3 forward gears shifted automatically based on speed and load, allowing drivers to focus on maneuvering, a crucial advantage when moving at high speeds. The torsion bar suspension, with 14 inches of wheel travel, ensured a smooth ride over rough terrain at high velocity. This system effectively absorbed impacts that could damage vehicles with traditional leaf spring suspensions. The 975 Wright radial engine, a 9-cylinder air-cooled aircraft engine, provided an excellent power-to-weight ratio. Early C1 models produced 350 horsepower, while later C4 versions reached 400 horsepower. The air cooling system eliminated the need for vulnerable radiators and cooling systems. An electric motor-driven hydraulic turret, Traverse provided a constant rotation speed of 15 degrees watt zones, regardless of engine speed or vehicle movement, offering a significant advantage over German hand-cranked systems. The M18's combat deployment significantly influenced post-war armored vehicle development. Despite the tank destroyer doctrine being abolished and its units disbanded in November 1945, the Hellcat's triumphant demonstration of mobility's superiority over armor resonated deeply with designers worldwide. Inspired by this concept, the Soviet Union developed the PT-76 light amphibious tank and later the BMP infantry fighting vehicle, both prioritizing mobility. Great Britain, in turn, created the CVRT series, emphasizing speed for reconnaissance missions. France pursued weight reduction, developing the AMX-13 with an autoloader. Germany made a radical shift in tank design philosophy, abandoning heavy armor in favor of mobility for its Leopard 1. Modern wheeled tank destroyers, such as the Italian Centauro, the Japanese Type 16, and the American M1128 mobile gun system, are conceptual descendants of the M18, sacrificing protection for strategic and tactical maneuverability. A logical question arises: why were German forces, renowned for their tactical innovations, unable to effectively counter the M18? Several factors contributed to this doctrinal rigidity. German tank training emphasized methodical long-range firing. Crews spent years perfecting the art of precisely hitting targets at great distances, which proved utterly useless against the swiftly moving Hellcats. Technical limitations. German turret traverse systems, dependent on engine RPM, could not keep pace with the M18's lightning-fast hydraulic drive. At idle or low engine speeds, German tanks became virtually defenseless against Hellcat flanking attacks. Psychological shock. German tankers were accustomed to impunity in engagements with most Allied armored vehicles. The sudden transformation from formidable predator to defenseless prey had a profound psychological impact. Communication failures. German tactical radios, already experiencing significant Allied interference, were unable to coordinate responses to the rapid maneuvers of M18s operating in small groups. Veteran recollections, documented by the U.S. Army Military History Institute after the war, unanimously emphasized the M18's exceptional maneuverability as key to battlefield survival. Staff Sergeant Vernon Miller, who served with the 85th Tank Destroyer Battalion, articulated 3 core principles that M18 crews followed: lightning-fast shooting, rapid movement, and instantaneous reaction to changing conditions. According to him, adhering to all 3 rules guaranteed a return home, while the slightest mistake could cost a life. Technical Sergeant John Patterson of the 603rd Tank Destroyer Battalion stressed that the Hellcat was not designed for fair fights. Its tactic involved delivering sudden strikes when the enemy least expected it, then vanishing instantly before the adversary could comprehend what had happened. Private First Class Robert Chen, who fought with the 704th Tank Destroyer Battalion, acknowledged the M18's vulnerability, calling it a tin can. However, he noted that this tin can possessed incredible speed, up to 55 km/h, ST-88. He stated that this speed, more than any armor, saved his life. Statistical data on the M18's combat use presents a mixed picture. In terms of mobility, the vehicle boasted the following characteristics: a maximum road speed of 55 km/h and a cross-country speed of 26.42 km/h. It could accelerate to 30.45 km/h in just 11 seconds. Its operational range was 150 miles, 240 km, with a 75-gallon, 284-litre fuel tank capacity. Ground pressure was a mere 10.5 0.74 kSm2, which was lower than many trucks. Regarding combat effectiveness, on average, each M18 accounted for 2.4 destroyed enemy tanks. The average combat life of an M18 was 67 days. Mechanical reliability allowed the vehicle to travel 200 miles, 320 kilometers between major overhauls. The crew survivability rate of 73% upon vehicle destruction is a stark testament to both the advantages and disadvantages of the self-propelled gun. The impressive percentage of surviving crew members speaks to the vehicle's high speed, which allowed them to escape a disabled M18 before an ammunition detonation or complete destruction. However, the relatively short combat lifespan reinforces the argument of vulnerability due to light armor. The M18 Hellcat's influence extends far beyond the characteristics of a specific vehicle. touching upon fundamental principles of modern warfare. The find, fix and finish concept, prioritizing the fastest possible target engagement, is reflected in the hit-and-run tactics brilliantly executed by M18 crews. Modern active protection systems, which intercept incoming enemy projectiles, are essentially a technological attempt to replicate what the M18 achieved through its speed, evading hits rather than absorbing them with armor. M18 platoon tactics, coordinating swift attacks from multiple directions, foreshadowed modern network-centric warfare, where information and coordination are key factors for success. The M18 clearly demonstrated that achieving technological superiority does not necessarily require possessing capabilities identical to the enemy's. Effectively neutralizing their strengths is often sufficient. The M18 Hellcat, a product of American engineering ingenuity and tactical foresight, rightly holds its place among the most extraordinary combat vehicles of World War II. This tank destroyer, forged in the crucible of war, overturned established notions of armored combat and forced a re-evaluation of the very essence of tank warfare. German tankers, accustomed to battlefield dominance thanks to their vehicles' thick armor and powerful armament, encountered an American response that fundamentally changed the rules of engagement. The Hellcat's phenomenal top speed, reaching 55 miles per hour, 88 km/h, was not merely an impressive technical specification, but a symbol of a new approach to warfare. This speed became the Achilles heel that German tactical doctrine proved unable to counter. The M18 Hellcat vividly demonstrated that in warfare, much like in the wild, survival isn't always granted to the strongest or most heavily protected. Victory often goes to the swiftest, most maneuverable, and most adaptable to changing conditions. German tank crews, observing with frustration as their carefully aimed shots vanished into thin air pursuing the elusive M18, were repeatedly convinced of this on the battlefields of France, in the snowy Ardennes, and during the final engagements within Germany itself. Today, as military experts delve into the history of the M18 Hellcat, they see more than just a successful combat vehicle. They recognize it as a prime example of American military ingenuity, which skillfully identified enemy weaknesses and effectively neutralized them with unconventional methods. German tankers, encountering the American Hellcat in combat, were unpleasantly surprised by its ability to reach speeds of up to 55 miles per hour. This technological breakthrough, combined with new tactical approaches and highly trained crews, created a weapon system that exceeded all expectations. Ultimately, the M18 Hellcat revolutionized armored combat. It proved that defense doesn't always require thick armor, that destroying the enemy doesn't always necessitate the most powerful gun, and that battlefield dominance can be achieved through high mobility rather than sheer mass. Moving at 55 miles per hour, it outmaneuvered not only German tanks but also German military strategy itself. The legacy of the M18 Hellcat continues to influence modern military thought. Every time a military strategist chooses mobility over protection, when a commander emphasizes speed of action over meticulous preparation, or when a weapons designer sacrifices defense for increased performance, the lesson of the Hellcat echoes through the decades. Sometimes, the best defense is to evade the enemy's shot. German tankers from the 113th Panzer Brigade, the 2nd Panzer Division, and numerous other units learned the bitter cost of underestimating their adversary. They faced an enemy unwilling to play by their rules, skillfully turning their advantages into vulnerabilities, striking from nowhere and dissolving like ghosts in the thick fog of war. It became clear to them that the innovative American approach wasn't about creating more advanced tanks in the traditional sense, but about developing a fundamentally different combat vehicle. A vehicle whose swiftness rendered established German tactical maneuvers, crew training, and the power of tank turrets useless. The M18 Hellcat, the embodiment of American daring and 55 miles per hour speed, became compelling proof that in warfare, speed is sometimes the most formidable weapon. German tankers had no idea that the American Hellcat could reach such incredible speeds, and by the time they finally realized it, it was too late. The war was lost not only on the battlefields, but also in the realm of strategic thinking, where American engineers showed courage by sacrificing armor thickness for speed, thereby creating a predator that itself began to hunt those who considered themselves hunters.